So today we're going to talk about account administration, how to set up users inside of Touchstone, how to restrict their access, how to set access, how to add control panels, which is this area right here, and how that affects management review, which is right here. And then at the end, I'm going to talk a bit about the public processes and some best practices for public processes. So to access account administration, you go all the way to the upper right-hand corner of your screen. And if your GoToMeeting panel is open, you might not see where I'm at right now. So if that's the case, you can shrink it down or drag it off to the side. But all the way to the furthest right-hand corner of the screen, there's a wheel icon. When you select the wheel icon, you see these three options: user accounts, account settings, and upgrade account. If I click on user accounts, then it'll take me to the admin area, what we call account administration. If you don't see the wheel icon all the way in the right-hand corner, it's probably because you're not an administrator. So only administrators are able to access the account administration area. So that's all that it means. This is the user list that you're looking at right now. And this will show all of the users that you've created. If this is blank and all you see is the key account holder, which is the first user here on the user list, then all that means is you haven't set up your users yet. So to create a user, you go over here to the right-hand side where it says New User, and you click New User, and then you're prompted with the screen to fill in the information for that user. The first thing you want to decide is if the new user you're adding is going to be an administrator or a regular user. The difference is an administrator has access to everything inside of Touchstone. So they can go to the 4 key functions, they can go anywhere and everywhere, they can edit or change everything, including deleting things, including coming to account administration and changing people's access. So you want to make sure that if you do create someone as an administrator, that they, are trustworthy and have a good reason for being an administrator. A good reason would be if they're the owner of the company or a very high-level manager. Another good reason is if they're the Touchstone power user, like the person who is controlling and doing everything in Touchstone for other people. So let's make this user a regular user. Then you want to put in the email address for the user. So this should be a real email address, only because if the person, the employee, loses their password or forgets their password, then the password recovery sends the password to that username. And if it's not a real email address, then it goes nowhere. Now, having said that, if somebody forgets their password and they don't have a real email address that they've used, then an administrator, somebody who's designated as administrator, like the key account holder or this person, can log in and go and reset their password in account administration. So then you give the user a password and you have to type it in twice. The only other required fields are the first and last name, which are right here. Now, you can go in and put addresses and hire dates and position titles if you want, but these are not required fields. They have no impact on Touchstone. It's just for your own information. Then I go down here and create user. Then the user shows up by last name in alphabetical order. So you see it right here. So creating users is pretty simple. If you have created a user and you've made them just a regular user and then you decide you want to make them an administrator, you can do that. You just click the user's name and right here you go and change the type. Here's where you can also reset the password. You see at the bottom, here's the password screen. The passwords are all encrypted, so you may see numerous dots when you know your password's only 4 letters long, and it doesn't matter, it's just because it's encrypted. And then you hit update, and then that user status changes here. You can also go in the reverse. So if you've made someone an admin user and then you decide, oh no, that's not right, I'm going to make them a regular user so I can restrict their access, then you hit update and it changes it back. You can also go and delete users from the user list. So if you click delete user here and then you hit the drop down, I'm seeing all the users. I choose the one that I want to delete and then I hit delete. When you delete the user, one thing to remember is their control panel will also be deleted. So here on the dashboard, you assign users to control panels right here. You can see Mike right here has a control panel for bookkeeper, and Bill has a control panel for IT. So if Mike leaves and there's information in his control panel that you want to keep, then you should export it all and then go and delete him. So if I click Mike, I'll just show you an example of that. Let's say that he has done some customer complaints in the customer complaint process. And down here, he's filled out this customer complaint form. And I don't want to lose all those complaint forms that he's actually filled out. There's not any here. You would just select them in the completed folder, or you could also run a report, and then you export them. And there's a button that says print, but really what happens when you're printing is creating a PDF. So remember that about deleting users. If you delete the user, then their control panel will be deleted. Another tip is if you have an employee who's left, and if you go to that employee's user and you just change the name to someone else who's filling in for them, or you hired to replace them, then that person, when they go to the dashboard and they look in the completed folder or they run a report of the stuff that's in there, they'll be able to see what Mike did when he was there. Sometimes that's not an issue if they're customer complaint forms or something like that, but if it's sensitive information like performance review forms or meeting documentation, if it was a manager, then you want to be careful about that. It's usually best protocol to go and download the information that you want to keep from that user's control panel and then delete them and then just add the new employee. Okay, so that's delete user. This profile screen, if ever I'm on a different button here on this row, if I click the profile, it's going to take me back to the details of the user I'm on. So that's what the profile is. I always know which user I'm on because it shows up in orange here. So I know that I'm about to kind of edit or do things related to Bill. Okay, so that's the profile button. User access, this area, allows you to set the access that this person is going to have to Touchstone. That's what that means. So if I go to user access right here, the question I want to ask myself is, what kind of access does this person need? What positions do they need to have access to? So typically, this is the position they fill. That would be one answer to the question. So if this person is a salesperson and I've hired them to do sales, then they probably need access to this sales position on the org chart. What that means when I give this person access to sales right here, it means that they have access to all the processes on that job description. So if we go back to the org chart here and you click the sales box, these are all the processes that that person that I'm about to give access to will have access to. So I'm going to give him the access to the sales position on the org chart, which then gives him access to all the processes on this job description. So that's how Touchstone operates. That's how the access is defined. If you give a person access to a position on the org chart and there's no processes on that job description, well, they're basically going to have access to nothing because everything's going to be grayed out except for what's on that job description. Now, type of access is something I'll show you in account administration, but I just want to explain it here first. There are three types of access that you can give. You can give read-only, which means all they can do is read what's here. You can give edit, which means they can edit what's here. They can't add anything new, they can just edit. Or you can give create, which is the highest level of access aside from being an administrator. Create means that they can add new processes to this job description right here. They can go to existing processes and they can add work plans, they can add checklists, they can have files, they can have forms. They can not only edit what's there, like edit all of this, but they can add new things to it. If the person just had edit access, they would be able to edit existing tasks, but they can't add new work plans. If it's read-only, they're just going to be able to read what's here. When they start to click on things, nothing's going to open because they have read-only. So let's go back here and go to this person and go to user access. So you want to ask yourself, first of all, what position does this person fill? If they're a salesperson, then you choose that position. Then you have to decide what level of access, read-only, edit, or create. How you decide is, if this person is somebody that you want to be helping you build the processes, well then you give them create access. Edit access would be if you just want them to be able to edit what's already there. Usually, I don't see much edit access anymore. Usually they would have create access if they're going to be able to edit or change things at all. Create access is probably better because it'll give them higher scope of things that they can do. But if you are pretty clear that what's there is what you want to keep there and you just want them to go and make minor changes, then you can give edit access. Read access is read-only. They can print and read what's there and nothing else. So let's give him edit access or create access and hit update. Now I know I've given this person create access to this position because it's showing up in blue. And you can see right here, blue shows you it's edit access. So ask yourself, which box does this person fill on the org chart? What's their position? And then give them at least read-only access to that position. Then ask yourself, are there any other positions that this person would fill in for or has to be cross-trained in or should know how to do? And if the answer is yes to that, then give them access to that position. So let's say this person here also needs to handle IT things or at least know how to do that. So I choose IT. And I have to answer the same questions. If it's a situation where they're filling in for another person or they have to be cross-trained, it's probably just read-only access, and then I hit update. So give access for positions that the person fills, and then also positions where they need to know the work of that other position. They need to be able to access the processes on those job descriptions and use them. Now, if a person is a manager, and let's go right here for this one, and user access. If the person is a manager, then they should have access to all the positions that they manage. So I'll do an example here. Let's imagine this user is the manager of operations. Typically, managers would have create access because it's their job to innovate processes, to build processes, to manage processes. So generally speaking, unless there's some kind of unusual situation going on, I would say most managers should get create access. Then I hit update. And now you can see that Touchstone has defaulted to give them create access to all the positions underneath them. And it does that because in theory, if a manager manages other positions, they're responsible for all the processes on all these job descriptions. They're responsible for making sure that they're being used, that they're updated, that they exist, all of that. So they need to have read-only, or they need to have at least create access to the subordinate positions. All right, so I'm going to go and remove this. Now let's log in as this person. I'm just going to highlight the name here so it's easier. Let's log in as this person just so you can see what it looks like when that position logs in. So we're logging in as this new user I created. If we go to the organization chart right here, so now we're logged in as that person. Everything is grayed out here except for these two boxes. And these two boxes are not grayed out because I gave this user access to these positions. We gave them read-only access to this IT position. So when you click here, you'll see all these icons up here are gone. They can print. And then when they go to a process, when they go to a process, round 2, there's nothing in this one, so that's not a good example. But when they go to a particular process, they're going to be able to see work plans and things that are inside of it, but they won't be able to edit or change any of that. And you'll notice all this functionality is gone and all this functionality is gone. So let's go back here. When they have create access, like we gave for sales, you can see that they can add a new process right here. They can move processes around. When we click a process, they can go to that process and edit or change things. They can make new work plans, but they can only do that for processes that are linked to that job description. When we go to the 4 functions here, and we click on, let's click on doing the business, you'll see all this is grayed out. And it's grayed out because none of these processes are on that job description that this person has access to. If we go to getting the business here, you'll see some of these are illuminated, so I can click on them, but the others that aren't on that job description are not. So I'm going to log out here and then log back into my account. And then I'm going to go back right up here to account administration again. All right, so that's user access. So set user access based on the level of access and the type of access that you want this position to have, or this person. The next thing you can do is create a control panel for the person. So when I click control panel, I'm seeing the same tree. Your organization chart will be here. And with the control panel assignment, all I want to choose are the positions, the boxes on the chart that this person fills, the actual position that they have. So if it's sales, this is a salesperson, I'd choose sales, and I'd make it staff if it was a non-managerial position. If it's a managerial position, I'd choose manager. So let's go to me right here at the top. So I'm in the key account holder, and you see the little yellow key here letting me know that. The green key shows the other administrators, and blue obviously is our users. So if I go to my name right here, and then I go to control panel, you see I have a control panel for this position called the Manager of Admin and Finance. If I wanted to give myself another control panel, because maybe I fill 2 roles on the organization chart, I just choose that position. This is the president. It's definitely a manager. And then I hit update. So if people fill multiple boxes on the org chart, then give them multiple control panels, because the work of this person and the work of this position and the work of this position are different. Now, if we go here to the dashboard, you'll see where the control panels appear. So this is the control panel area, and you see I've got this Manager of Admin Finance and this for President. Now, this is different than the user access, because here in the control panel, I just click things, and then I can see them, read them, and use them. So this is like a customer complaint process. I could go down here to this form, and then I can fill out the form. So here it's read only. You're just editing and using things. Nothing's changed here. The only way to change a process is to have the right access and go through the 4 functions to the process tools page and actually edit and change it. Here we're just using it. Because I made these 2 control panels are managerial control panels, you see down here that all the employees of the company, because I'm the president and I have a control panel for that, I can see inside of all of their control panels here. So these are users that are on the user list, and they've been assigned control panels for these different positions. So here's Mary's customer support, Bill's customer service. And because I have a box above them on the org chart and have been given a managerial control panel, then that's why I see all these people here. So the steps for creating your users are, number one, add new user, put in their information, decide if they're admin users or if they're going to be regular users. So fill it all in. Then go to that user and assign their user access. So ask yourself, what positions do they fill? What positions do they need to have access to because they're the manager or they fill in for that position every once in a while? And then decide what level of access they need to have. If they're going to edit and change and help you build processes, then create access. If they just need to read and access what's there, then read only. Then go and assign a control panel. So click Control Panel, and then choose the position or positions that they fill on the org chart and the positions that they need to be using those processes. Right next to user accounts here, 2 over is this Upgrade Account button. Everybody gets 10 users for free. If you only have 5 and you want to add more, you can go to Upgrade here and upgrade to 10. You won't be charged any more money for that because we recently changed. Everyone gets 10 for free. If you want more users than that, this is recorded, so this won't matter. Don't pay attention to this money. You're all long-term clients. Give us a call and say, hey, what kind of deal can you make me on new users? A lot of times we'll just bump you up at least 5 or sometimes 10 for free. If you're like a 50-person company, we'll make you a sweet deal for users. The reason we do this is the more people who are accessing Touchstone and using it, the better it's going to work for you, and the longer you're going to keep your account, which is good for us. The better it's going to work for you means the more people logging in are going to be using the processes. They're going to be helping to create them. They're going to be trained on them. They're going to be accessing them for day-to-day when they need to remember what to do or they need to be retrained on what to do. The more people who are in the dashboard here using processes like completing checklists, filling out forms, doing performance review forms inside of Touchstone, tracking key indicators inside of Touchstone, keeping agendas for one-on-one meeting forms, having interview questions where you fill in the answers or you do an evaluation or a rating on that new employee, using onboarding checklists to make sure each new employee is onboarded correctly, tracking terminations with the checklist, doing a compensation plan. I could go on and on. The more that your managers and your people are in using the processes, the better they're going to work for you. The better they're going to work for the company, the more useful they're going to be. To the extent that people are not using Touchstone is to the very extent that your processes will be unsuccessful and mean nothing in the end. If Touchstone becomes just a place where you've got an operating manuals out on the internet and nobody is actually paying attention to it, it's going to get outdated, it's going to become unuseful, and that time you spent however long ago documenting everything is going to be meaningless to the company. So getting people into Touchstone, using the processes, looking at them, having managers refer to them is the way to keep your processes relevant. So let's go back here. So upgrade your account and add all your employees that you want to be having access Touchstone. And if the user amount that you have is an impediment of that, just give us a call and we'll talk about it. This icon right here is called Account Settings. So what this area does is it allows you to customize the header right here on top of Touchstone. The business name that you see here is what will appear at the top. Now I have the business name down here not displayed, but if I display it, then you'll see what I mean. So that name is right here. If you've uploaded a logo, and I'm going to show you how to do that in a minute, and the logo has your company name in it, like ours does here, then you probably don't need the display company name. So that's why we give you an option down here to disable it. If your logo is just a picture and you want to have the company name there, then just hit display company name. If your company name is wrong or you want to change it, you just change it right here, and that's what filters right here. The header color is white on my account now. It's all white right here. If I want to change the header color, I just select it down here, and then I choose the new color, and then I just hit update. And then it changes the header color. There's a button right here that says display default colors. The default colors are this green. So those of you who see the green, it just means that you haven't updated your colors and you're continuing to use the default color. When you go to update your header color, make sure you uncheck this box that says display default colors and hit update. So then what I've chosen is selected or shown. The text color are the color of the navigation right here, the text of this navigation. So once you've chosen your header color, go to text color and choose something that doesn't blend into the header color. So I just chose white right here. When you have dark colors in the header, then obviously a light will show up better. To upload your logo, you just hit choose file right here and find the logo. If you don't have a logo, you can take a picture of it from your, if you don't have one that you can access, I could just go take this picture of my website logo, and if I go File, Save As, this is the same way you insert an image into Touchstone. And I always dump these on my desktop, and then overwrites the last one. Then I can go back to Touchstone here, and I go Choose File, and then I search for what I just captured, and I hit Open, and then Update. So now, you see, so it's super easy. If you can't find your logo file or nobody knows where it is, just take a little snippet of your website logo or something you have on anywhere, and then just upload it. It's kind of nice for employees when they're logging into Touchstone to have it kind of feel like it belongs to the company. So don't underestimate the power of like customizing the settings so that when people log in, it's familiar to them. Make sure down here you've got this button checked that says Display Logo right here at the bottom. Because if you don't check that button, even though you have your logo uploaded, it won't display. Once you've uploaded your logo, if you change the header color to kind of blend with the logo, that's also a nice thing to do. So I could click the header color here and change this to white and hit update. And then that blends. But be careful of what just happened. And about once a month, we get a technical support call about this. It appears as if the navigation has disappeared, right? It's not here anymore. And the reason is because the header color is the same as the text color. So it's just blended in. It's still there. You just can't see it. So if that happens to you, just change your header color to something darker, and then, that navigation will appear. Okay, so that's account settings. So I think the takeaways for account administration are, number one, add all your employees. If there's anything, if you are afraid to upgrade because of a financial concern, give us a call and we'll help you with that. Add all your employees, add them as new users. Even if it's people that you think, aren't really going to be going to the dashboard and doing things, still add them. And the reason would be that a manager is managing those people. So even if Mike, for example, is never going to be in Touchstone doing anything, as far as I can tell for now, or maybe these lead sales rep, Bill down here, he's always in the field, he probably won't be in Touchstone, I still need to manage him. And I can keep management information if he's set up in Touchstone. So an example of that would be is if I manage Bill, I could go here to my one-on-one meetings, and I could track meetings I'm having with him. So I could go to the custom form here. I could put in Bill's name right here, the date, items discussed, and when I save it back to Touchstone, then I know it's related to Bill. I could also keep performance review information right here. So any management stuff related to Bill, if he's set up as a user, I'm not just referring to him by putting his name in a field. I can actually see him in the management area. Also for training purposes. So let's say Bill is a new employee. So I would go to his name here in management review, and I can go through and train him in what he needs to be trained in. And when I select these processes that he needs to be trained in, I can flip this flag that says train all, or I can train tools one at a time, and then I get these little green check marks. I can also keep notes inside of these processes in the management area related to him. Things I've trained him on, notes I've had about the training, and I can continue to go through and check off and make sure he's trained. Ideally, Bill would be required to log into Touchstone on the dashboard and go to these processes and read them and study them. Even for the most, unadministrative positions, they can log in with their phones right to the dashboard, even in their trucks when they're driving around, and go to their processes, study them, learn them, use them. So that's just a plug for setting up people as users inside of Touchstone. If you don't set people up individually also, you can't restrict their access individually. So if I had one user that said all salespeople at sales.com, when those salespeople log in, they're all going to see and do the same thing. They're only going to have access to what that username has access to. So you can't individualize it if you're using general logins. Okay, so set up new users, go and set their access, and then go and set control panels. It's just a few clicks, and it's worth doing because of what I said originally, which is involves the importance of using of the dashboard. So set them up, create user access, set them up with control panels, and then maybe in a meeting, you can go department by department, or you can send it out in an email, give people their usernames and passwords, and say, hey, log into Touchstone and just look around. Go to the dashboard, take a look at what the dashboard's about, and have them start to familiarize themselves with Touchstone. In the upper right-hand corner of the screen right here, there's a button that says Resource Center. This is a help center inside of Touchstone for those of you who haven't seen this. Employees can go here to learn more about Touchstone. So they could go to the webinars area, and if they're the type of employees that you want to have helping you build processes, they can watch number 4 and 5 right here. If you want them to familiarize themselves with how to use the dashboard and what that's about, then they can watch number 7. So you can have them come right here and watch these pre-recorded webinars where it's discussed, like how to build a good process, how to use the process tools. If you just want them to be able to use the dashboard functionality, then here in webinar number 7 is probably the one for that, which is coming up next week, the live version of this. If they're managers and you want them to be using Touchstone to manage their employees, like I've been talking about, then number 3 is definitely good, because this is about how to use the job descriptions as a management tool, not only how to create them, but how to use them as a management tool. 4 and 5 would also be good, how to document processes. And then 7, how to use the control panel and the management review functions on the dashboard. There's a lot more inside here, inside of the Resource Center. I think 9 times out of 10, if somebody watches those webinars, they pretty much get it, unless they're really computer challenged, and then that's a different situation. The user guides area right here shows a step-by-step for everything in Touchstone. So any of the functionality that they have a question about or is confusing at all, you see it all listed here inside of its function. And then when you click on the like documenting a work process, you oftentimes will see screenshots and sometimes even little videos here and a step-by-step explanation for everything. So if you have people who learn better by reading as opposed to watching, then they can always go to the user guides area and kind of step through all the functionality of Touchstone. While we're here, just another little plug. Up here under Touchstone Support, this is how you and or your employees can contact us really easily. I think oftentimes people get stuck on things. They can't push their way past it. They just get stuck. And when working in a system like Touchstone, if you get stuck, it's easy just to put it to the side and answer the phone or deal with that customer. And so that stops the progression from going forward. So just contact us really quick. Contact support, put in your questions, say have someone call me in the message. Also here under Support Plus, you can sign up for Touchstone University, which is a monthly course that goes on twice a month. It's just best practices on how to use Touchstone. They're generally shorter webinars, it could be like a half an hour, 45 minutes at the most. And it's just tips and techniques for using Touchstone. So you can register for those for free. And then, of course, there's the live technical training series, and you all are here. But this will repeat in another few weeks after this one ends, and people can sign up for it right here. So let's go back to Touchstone. In the upper right-hand corner of the screen, if you're not an administrator and you can't get to account administration, if you go to user settings right here, you can always see your username and password. So that's just another tip. Under user settings, if you want to change your username or password, you can do that even if you're not an administrator. Now, users can go and change their usernames and passwords all they want, but if the administrators can change them back, you always have the ultimate control over that. So if you go to account administration and you see someone's changed their username or you want to reset their password, you can do it right here as well. You just choose the person's name on the user list, change the username here, edit the password down here. If you have an employee that's been fired or let go or has quit, I just want to remind everyone that it's important to go and change their password right away. So you don't have to make decisions about deleting them as a user right away, but go in and change the password down here. And the reason is you just want to make sure that whatever information they have access to is secure. We did have a situation a few months ago where there was, and this was a one-off, like in 10 years, I've never heard of this happening before, but we had a disgruntled employee, and that person was an administrator, unfortunately, and that person didn't get their password changed before they left or in a timely enough way, and they went in and just started deleting things and just messing up the Touchstone account. We were able to handle that because we just restored it all to its original state, but still it was quite distressing, and you want to look out for things like that. Hopefully that's not happening to you or wouldn't, but it's just a reminder to go in and just like you would remove their email addresses and take their keys away and other things when somebody is leaving, go in and change their passwords not only to Touchstone but to any other tools that you have. Okay, so let's go back to the dashboard here. So I just want to talk about these public processes here. I'll give you kind of the rules about the public processes or best practices around the public processes, and then I want to talk about some further uses of the public processes. So the public process area is for processes that are company-wide information. So things that the entire company needs to have access to. So that would be, things that are HR related. So any kind of human resource information, like the employee handbook, that's a good one. How to request a vacation. Anything that, any type of form or document that employees are coming to the office people all the time and saying, can I have this form, or how do I change my W-2 information, or how do I update my address, or anything like that. That is something requested of that department a lot. Make it a public process. Make it accessible inside of Touchstone. Have it available inside of Touchstone. So instead of the HR people or the office people scrambling around trying to find whatever the most current version of that form is to pass to that person, which it's not only the time it takes them to do that, it's the interrupted time. It's the time that it cost them because of what they were doing, they were just interrupted with. It's the time of that person who left what they were doing to come ask for the form. So it's a lot of time. It's quadruple in some cases. So the public process area can be a repository for that type of information. And employees could be notified that, hey, it's all there if ever you want anything. And if people forget that or they choose to ignore it, then train your managers and your staff to say, hey, it's in Touchstone in the public area, go find it. It's just getting people into Touchstone more and knowing that this is a place they can go to find things. So HR type of information. Also, any kind of strategic or training information that is company-wide. So management philosophy, that's a good one. So this is like the philosophy of the firm or the company. Your strategic objective or your vision for the year, your business plan for the year, that could be here too. And that would just be a document where people could go and look and say, what is, how are things going in the business? What's our plan for the year? You can discuss that with them, but also keep the document here so they can refer to it and see it. Processes like communications, this is like how to answer the phone, how to fire things, how to send out emails, how to use the fax machine, how to use the printer, who to call if it breaks, stuff like that. You can put computer processes in here, so how to clean up your computer, how to make sure the backup is working. These processes are for training. I don't know why these are here. This is probably misplaced, but you could keep training information here by position if you'd like. Company development meetings, that's this process right here. So this could be an annual meeting that you do and any kind of information that was given to the employees during that meeting. So they could go here to find that information. If you have in-services or trainings that exist and you want to keep that information that was given to you by the trainer in like a PDF manual or a PowerPoint presentation or links to resources on that person's website or things related to that training. Any kind of HR training like on sexual harassment or safety training on what to do in case of a disaster, all that kind of stuff can be kept here. I like key performance indicators here. So the key performance indicators would be just the forms. If people are filling these out, that information is happening and saved to their unique control panel. But here employees could go to see what the key performance indicators are if they're interested in that. When you click a public process from the public folder, it takes you to the documentation for that process. So here there's a work plan on the KPI definitions. There's a checklist here. There's the human resource indicators. There's a form here for finance indicators. Now, if I'm an employee looking at this and it's not my responsibility to fill out the indicator form, then I'll probably just look at it. So I could look and see, what are all the indicators that are tracked? How do we measure those? If I am the finance manager, and it's my responsibility to create the quarterly indicators and fill them out and submit them to the owner or my manager. When I access the process from the public folder, I can go down and click this form, and I can literally fill it out. I can call this Q2 2019, I think that's the year. Profit and loss, what was the profit and loss? You can say plus 20%. That would be nice. Is it out of range? No. Comments. Why is it not out of range? We did better this quarter. You get the idea. If it is out of range, why? Net profit. What was the net profit? 5%. Did it meet goals? No. Why? Put in comments. So I fill this out as the finance manager, and when I save it, it's saving this indicator form back to Touchstone. Now, just because this was a public process, it doesn't matter. When I save it, it's saving it unique to me. So I could go over here and run a report under Control Panel, and I'll just put what is today's date? Thursday the 21st. So I put in today's date and I hit run report. We're only going to see one thing. Well, actually, that's not true because I did something in another webinar. So here's this report that I filled out. The only person who can see this is me and my manager. So even though, the point I'm trying to make is even though it's a public process, if someone was to go in and complete something in this, it saves it back to their control panel just like as if they went here. So the public processes are for access reasons, they're for resource reasons, they're a repository for any kind of information that's company-wide. So I want to show you a quick example of, I'm just going to log out here, of a company that was using the public folder in a cool way. Okay, so this is a law firm, and this is a demo account, but we just mimicked what inside of this company's actual account, what they did. So this is the public area for this law firm. First of all, they have their law firm attorney's policy manual right there. So this is like an employee handbook. It's the manual that everyone gets when they first get hired. There's expectations training. So this is like, what are the expectations of the company? And they've done a specific little training for that with a checklist. Philosophy of the firm. Now, if someone wants to see that philosophy, they just select it, and then they click, and they actually see the philosophy. Simple, straightforward, really clear. Nobody can edit or change anything here. They're just viewing it. Now, when someone's first being trained, they could go and put, read it right here if you wanted them to. Or if a manager's asking them to go back and review it, they could say, did it. It's my keyboard. I really can spell. And then they save it, and then you have a date and time stamp when they actually read it and agreed to it. I'm going to go back to the dashboard here. Time management, also a great process as a public folder, in the public folder. This is a library process, so you can go download it from our process library under Guiding the Business. But this is just, best practices for time management. This could be something you train people in when they're brand new to the company. This could be something you refer people to if you feel like they need help with how they're spending their time to become more efficient. So this process has got like daily planning in it, how to do daily planning. If you ever decide, I want to track this person's time to see what and how they're doing things so we can help them to become more efficient, they can go down here to the time log and then fill a time log out for an entire week. This is like the time of day, how long they did it, 1 hour, what they did. And they can even categorize it as admin or whatever they want it to be, and they go through and track their time. This doesn't have to be a punishment. This can be just a way for a manager to kind of get a hold of how is this person spending their time? What is it that they're doing? How can we make it more efficient? How can I take things away from that person that they shouldn't be doing? Or how can we see what's interrupting them all the time? It's a way for people to track, what and make what they're doing more visible. So time management, also another great public process. Here's this time off and vacation request. So this includes a form that can be, filled out, has sample holidays and vacation guidelines. It has a policy in it, how you request a vacation. Employee satisfaction surveys and suggestions. This is also another great public process. So if I'm an employee and I have an idea how things could be better, I have a suggestion to make. This is just kind of a virtual suggestion box. They can go here to this process and fill out surveys if you want them to. Employees can go here and you'd want to edit this. This is an example of 3 different types of surveys. So someone would need to go and edit this and kind of make it work for you. But this is, employees could go in and fill out these surveys. What do they think of the company? How do you feel? Do you feel that everyone gets along while working together? Do you feel like there is a team effort among everyone involved? And they just go and give it, 1, 2, 3, 1 through 5. So there are different examples of these surveys that you can go in and have people, and I'm filling this out because I'm in my Touchstone account now. I put my name, I don't even need to put my name here because it's saved unique to me, and they save it. So the idea is every person logs into Touchstone with their own username and password. They go and fill out the survey, save it back to Touchstone. Then a report is run, and all the surveys are listed. Now, there's nothing in Touchstone that can combine the surveys and give you tallies of everything. We don't have that level of functionality, but you can look at every survey and evaluate it. And then again, also for suggestions, when people submitted suggestions. Here are another two great ideas. This is a law firm, remember this example. So they've got a process here called legal resources. You could have a process that are resources related to your products or services. Resources related to how you sell those products or services. So information on their features and benefits. This is good company-wide information. It might be more relative to salespeople, but it's good for the entire company to know what are the products or services, what are their features and benefits, how do they benefit the customer. So this becomes a resource center for all that type of information. You can have processes like this one that says firm software and tools. So when someone selects this, they see all the different software that the company uses and some basic how-tos on how to use that software, or links to that software provider's tutorials, videos, things they already have. It could just be links that funnel towards those things. So if somebody forgets how to use these tools, they can come here and find it. For new employees, they know right where all of this information is, how to use all the software and tools that the company needs to have, what software they do have, when it's used, and how it's used. So think about this public process area, expand your vision of it if you choose to. Think of it not only as HR type information, company-wide information, but also resource materials, a repository of information where employees can come and find what they need or be directed to it. So that is today's session. Just also as a quick reminder, in the Resource Center, if you need to hear more about how to use account administration, under the user guides area, there's a step-by-step for all of it. So if anything was confusing that I said, or you just want to go over it again, if you scroll down to account admin, all that information is here. In addition, there's little videos attached to those subject areas as well.